Now at 6 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, a Victoria teen is arrested in connection with a deadly shooting.
An FBI and Border Patrol operation sweeps across South Texas. How agents targeted suspects across multiple counties.
Plus, Victoria County leaders weigh in on the political chess match playing out over Texas congressional maps.
We had wall-to-wall sunshine today, but it looks like we have a better shot at getting some afternoon showers for the next 2 days. We'll take a look at that, and the traffic's coming up in a moment.
And the Yoakum Bulldogs would get a big Week 1 victory versus the Calhoun Sand Crabs. Week 1. We'll see how the Yoakum Bulldogs are looking going into game week later on in sports.
You're watching 25 News Now at 6. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Shauna Curry.
And I'm Don Brubaker.
A Victoria teen has been arrested in connection to a homicide. Around 5:15 Sunday evening, Victoria police were called to a disturbance on Sycamore Street. When they arrived, they found 19-year-old Gabriel Gonzalez with a gunshot wound. They tried to save him, but he did not survive. 17-year-old Jonathan Partita has been arrested in connection with the case. Victoria ISD would not tell us if Partita is a current or former student in the district. Police have not said what led to the disturbance, and the investigation is still ongoing.
A multi-agency effort rounds up nearly 80 immigrants in Texas illegally, and they have a criminal history.
25 News Now reporter Ray Mosley joins us with more. Ray?
Yes, Shauna and Don. U.S. Attorney Nicholas Gangia announced Operation Pickoff, an immigration and violent crime crackdown targeting criminals in the Rio Grande Valley. So far, of those 80, 65 people have been arrested, all allegedly in the country illegally after being previously removed. They face a range of charges including drug offenses, human smuggling, fraud, burglary, and assault. If convicted, many could spend up to 20 years in federal prison. The operation started last Friday, August 22nd, and ran through the weekend across Cameron, Willacy, Hidalgo, and Starr counties. Gangia says the South District of Texas won't stop until all 43 counties are covered, warning that anyone committing a crime can expect a visit from federal authorities. He says this is what Operation Take Back America is all about. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Texas remains one of the busiest in the nation. Victoria County is included in this representation. Assisting U.S. attorneys from all Victoria divisions work directly with our law enforcement partners on the federal, state, and local levels to prosecute the suspected offenders of these other federal crimes. Donna, Sean, back to you.
Ray, thank you. It's a question that many have been asking. Will the Victoria Driver's License Office reopen? Eric Yanes, a lifelong Victoria resident, submitted a renewal for her driver's license back in July and still has not received it. She says the ongoing closure of the Victoria DPS office is causing delays, and a temporary driver's license office in the city could help solve the problem.
Why didn't they stay there? You know, I mean, stay there till they renewed or remodeled or whatever, but stay open for Victoria County.
Trooper Ruben San Miguel with the Texas Department of Public Safety tells us that the Victoria DPS office is still being remodeled, but many setbacks have put delays on the opening, namely the removal of mold and damaged areas of the building and installing a new air conditioning system. Trooper San Miguel also tells us that budget shortfalls prevented a temporary DPS office to set up in Victoria, and Trooper San Miguel says that a possible DPS office reopening date will be well into 2026.
Today marks 8 years since Hurricane Harvey slammed into the Texas coast near Rockport. Harvey brought devastating winds, record-breaking rainfall, and catastrophic flooding. At its peak, some spots saw more than 60 inches of rain. The storm caused around $125 billion in damage, displaced tens of thousands of people, and took more than 100 lives. To this day, Harvey stands as one of the costliest and most destructive storms in U.S. history. And here's our viewer poll tonight. How did Hurricane Harvey impact you and your family in the Crossroads? Did you have major home damage or flooding? Did you have minor damage? Did you not have any damage but lost power, or were you not directly impacted? And over half of you, 52%, said that you had minor damage. 26% said they had major damage or flooding. We want to hear from you. Visit crossroadstoday.com/vote to let us know, and we'll have another look at the poll results on 25 News Now at 10.
Hard to believe it was 8 years ago, but that's true. But now into sunnier days.
Yeah, no, but okay, I saw on social media, and of course, we take all of that with a grain of salt, but Mac, that there might be a cool front headed our way around Labor Day?
Well, there is a cool front in North Texas, but I wouldn't call it a cold front. I'll talk about that coming up in a few minutes. It is in Texas. How about that? But it's way far north. And we'll talk about that and how far it'll actually get to go. What we're more focused on is this activity, as you can see right about here. We had, of course, that hot, brutal weather, and it pushed everything, including the moisture, out to sea. Well, now that moisture is beginning to bundle up. It starts to roll back in. Here we are, and you can see that even in Corpus Christi, they're getting some shower activity even as we speak, and they've had quite a bit of rain in deep South Texas. Some of that's coming up in our direction, and we'll see how that frontal system actually affects us coming up in a moment. Also, we'll take a look at the tropics. All that coming up in just a moment. Back to you.
Mac, thank you. And DeWitt County Commissioners put in a burn ban that went into effect at 6 o'clock tonight. The ban is for 90 days. Those caught burning outside in DeWitt County can be fined up to $500. Some of the UHV signs are coming down on the campus. Officials tell us it will be at least 7 months before the new Texas A&M Victoria signs go up on campus. But they say they're working all week to take UHV signs down and then maybe put up some temporary banners. Governor Greg Abbott signed the Senate bill moving the school from the University of Houston system into the Texas A&M University system under the new law. A UHV will officially become Texas A&M University Victoria next Monday, September 1st, making it the 12th university in the A&M system.
Texas lawmakers have passed new congressional maps. Republicans hoping to add more seats, but not without Democrats fighting back.
25 News Now reporter Trent Whiting spoke with some local political leaders, and he joins us now to share their takes. Trenton?
Yes, Shauna and Don, I spoke with the party chairs in Victoria County as well as a local political expert on this redistricting saga. They spoke about what the impact could be on each party nationwide. Texas Democrats dominated headlines over the past few weeks, leaving the state to avoid a vote on a new congressional map and drawing the ire of Republicans who feel the lawmakers shirked their responsibilities.
Somebody's paying you to do a job. Why not do it, right? Even under protest. I protest, but don't leave the state.
Victoria County Republican Party Chair Bill Posey says it was a strong political move by Republicans, but responses from states like California could counteract Republican gains in Texas.
I believe Gavin Newsom's going to have an effort to possibly redistrict there too. They only have 10 seats in the Republican Party in California. Will they be able to offset that? I don't know.
On the other side of the aisle, County Democratic Party Chair Jewel Buchanan says Democrats' goal was to spark national attention to Republican redistricting efforts.
They didn't go into it thinking that they would change the outcome. They did it to raise awareness. So more and more people would go, well, what's going on?
Buchanan says the Democratic Party may have forward momentum.
What we're going to do is we're going to get out in all of those new districts that are created as Democrats and talk to the voters. What is it that you want from a candidate?
Political expert and professor Woodrow Wilson Wagner says both Republican redistricting and the Democrats' departure may not have accomplished what they each hoped.
I think the result of this could not play in the Republicans' favor, that it energizes the Democratic Party. As far as people protesting and leaving the state, I think it makes good headlines, but it doesn't really move the needle in changing the outcome.
His main concern is that this process of redistricting, normally done after the census every decade, becomes a competition of power between parties.
I wonder if it's a domino effect that never ends, and then it becomes almost a game. And I don't think it's a good idea to start making democracy a game like that.
The state may have to deal with some legal action as a result. Organizations like the National Redistricting Foundation are pushing forward with the case, submitting a 67-page complaint calling the redistricting unconstitutional. For now, though, Governor Greg Abbott plans to move quickly on signing these districts into law. Shauna, Don, back to you.
Thank you, Trenton. Only one restaurant in Texas sells lab-grown meat. Lawmakers banned it anyway. To read this full Texas Tribune article, visit our website, crossroadstoday.com. The Pearl Market is a weekend favorite for San Antonio families, and for local vendors, though, it's much more than a gathering. It's their livelihood.
With costs climbing and new trade rules taking effect, many are finding ways to stay ahead. Devin Karp reports on how they're making it work.
The Farmer and Makers Market at the Pearl might be a relaxing way for folks to spend their weekend. But for the vendors, it's the most important stretch of a long week of work.
We put the time into the drink. We don't take shortcuts.
Take that template, throw it on a piece of hardwood, use a router, and create that leg.
So it's pretty much all of your everyday home essentials that I do non-toxic swaps for. So
business has been good in San Antonio, they say. The summer season treated them well, bringing in lots of customers, but behind the scenes, some things have gotten a lot more expensive.
We source our matcha from Kyushu, Japan, so the southern region of Japan.
Tariffs from the United States can have a big local impact. A 15% tariff rate on Japan has hurt Marissa and her business.
The farms we're working with were like, hey, we need to mail this out by this date, because if we don't, that's going to go from 15 to 24, potentially 34%. And it was really scary.
A new executive order from President Trump will end the de minimis rule this Friday. It allows foreign packages worth less than $800 to enter the country duty-free. While it's already been suspended for China and Hong Kong, it's now going to hit the rest of the world.
But I choose to buy quality material because I try to produce a quality product for my client.
honestly, I'm so glad that I decided to source locally and use beeswax from a bee farm.
Dusty and Hannah say getting materials locally has helped their peace of mind and bottom line.
Well, it's helped me because my price hasn't changed. The material that I buy isn't cheap.
But it isn't just as easy as buying local. They say any business switching their supply needs to do their homework.
I would honestly just say research and then reaching out to people and just knowing your sources, knowing where they get their stuff, knowing how they make it, knowing who's touching it, who's making it, who's shipping. That's your best bet.
And a focus on shopping and selling locally goes a long way.
And I really don't think we would be in the position that we are now without the Pearl. It's such a platform and it's such a community, and there's just trust within San Antonio.
Devin Karp, KSAT 12 News.
Former Mexican cartel leader Ismael El Mayo Zambada has pleaded guilty to U.S. drug trafficking charges. Prosecutors say under his leadership, the Sinaloa cartel grew into the world's largest drug operation, moving massive amounts of cocaine and heroin into the United States. Zambada admitted to bribing officials, ordering violence, and flooding the U.S. with drugs for decades. He faces life in prison when he's sentenced in January. Remember, your news, weather, and sports are streaming 24/7 on crossroadstoday.com. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 6, Trump eyes a federal takeover in Chicago as Democrats push back.
Also ahead, President Trump moves to end cashless bail while why jurisdictions face possible funding consequences.
A federal judge says Camar Abrego Garcia will remain in the U.S. for now. The Maryland man was taken into ICE custody this morning after an immigration check-in. Abrego was wrongfully deported to a prison in El Salvador in March and returned to the U.S. in June to face human smuggling charges. He reunited with his family last week after being released on parole. The Trump administration plans to deport him to Uganda, arguing he's a gang member and a danger to the community. Abrego Garcia denies that claim and has pleaded not guilty. His attorneys call the government's actions an overreach, and they want the case dismissed. 2 weeks into a federal takeover of law enforcement in Washington, D.C., the Trump administration has set its sights on Chicago and perhaps other cities.
And Democratic officials are heading back. Karen Catha reports from the White House.
Democratic officials in and around Chicago say President Donald Trump is out of bounds as he floats a federal takeover of the city's law enforcement on the heels of what he's done here in Washington, D.C. And Chicago is not the only city on President Trump's list. Trump also threatened this weekend to send National Guard troops to Baltimore with a Democratic mayor there and a Democratic governor of Maryland. But the Trump administration has been planning for weeks to send the National Guard to Chicago, according to two officials. It's not clear what that would look like, but the talk has been enough for Democrats in the state to respond, saying there is no crime emergency in Chicago to justify such a move.
That's why I'm saying there could be other ways to utilize the resources in an appropriate way, but to create this, it's theater. He's just doing more of the same, distracting from his failures as a president. And we're just, Illinois Democrats are just not going to have it.
Chicago's mayor says the city will take legal action if troops are sent, as the White House does not have the same kind of federal authority in other states and cities as it does in Washington, D.C. Trump Monday morning brushing off criticism.
I made the statement that next should be Chicago because, as you all know, Chicago is a killing field right now. And they don't acknowledge it. And they say, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense and I'm a smart person.
Meanwhile, over the weekend here in Washington, D.C., National Guard troops started carrying their sidearms. At the White House, I'm Karen Kefa.
President Trump today signed an executive order that aims to protect the American flag. The order calls on the U.S. Attorney General to prosecute suspects who desecrate Old Glory. Immigrants who've been accused of flag burning would be removed from the country. The order also directs the Justice Department to pursue litigation in order to clarify the scope of the First Amendment on the issue. In 1989, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the burning of an American flag as part of a protest was protected by the First Amendment.
President Trump also signed an executive order today meant to pressure jurisdictions to end cashless bail. Cashless bail allows for the release of defendants while awaiting their hearing or trial without having to put up money. Trump's order directs Attorney General Pam Bondi to provide him with a list of other jurisdictions that have cashless bail policies. The order also threatens to revoke certain federal funds or government-backed project approvals for the areas that do not end cashless bail. Proponents of cashless bail believe it helps prevent discrimination against people who cannot afford bail, but the Trump administration views the policy as too soft on crime.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. 93 degrees right about now. Another warm day, sunshine all day long. Now our high today managed to get up to 95, which is actually our seasonal average. But here we are in late August. We're getting into September. By the time we get to September the 10th, the average high should be less than 90 degrees. I'm excited. I'm hoping for that. We'll talk more about your week forecast after this. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I look for rain because it's the only way we can get our temperatures out of the upper 90s. And with a little luck, tomorrow, being Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll have enough shower activity to actually knock the temperature down. Look at all this stuff down south. What happened? Well, high pressure over the weekend just squeezed everything to the south. And today you can see how it's sort of beginning to roll back up. As a matter of fact, it was raining in Corpus Christi just a few hours ago, and it's been raining south of Laredo and Falfurrias, Kingsville, pretty much all afternoon. In fact, some heavy stuff down there in the Rio Grande Valley. They're not going to complain about that. They need anything that will knock the temperature down and give them a little rain. Okay, at the beginning of the show, we were talking about the front. Well, here it is. I mean, it's not huge, but it is a drier air mass, and it does cool the temperatures down. Now, up in Oklahoma, they were in the upper 70s today because of the cloud cover and rain, but Dallas got up to 93, so it's not exactly a cold front. This thing may sag down a little bit, maybe as far south as Waco, and that's about the extent of it. There's another one behind it, but that's what I'm telling you. Now that we're getting into early September, the frontal systems are going to get going further and further and creeping further south, and eventually one of them will come to us, give us a north wind and help us knock the temperature down. But above the front, you can see how all of the east has really had a break. I mean, they were in the 90s last week. Now they're in the upper 70s, and not exactly cold, but what a relief from the brutal summer that everybody has had. Now, here's Corpus Christi again. You can see we do have some shower right off the Texas coast, off the crossroads here, so it's not that far away. Look for this stuff to start rolling ashore tomorrow, being Tuesday, and giving us a shot at some shower activity. Now, not everybody's going to get it, but if you do, you consider yourself lucky. I'm just looking to get out of 99 degrees, and looks like the valley is getting some nice rain. Around us, nothing happening for today. Here's a little bit of good news. The drought monitor comes out every week to update us on how much we are in deficit of rain, and because of the rain, Victoria County is not in a drought officially. Now, you go out west to where the Guadalupe River starts, it's still in a drought, and here it is an extreme drought throughout west of San Antonio in the lakes out to the west. So we need to fill the lakes, and of course we did get a good rain, but it was a tragic rain. But with a little luck, hopefully we'll start getting a little bit of a break. Now, here is the burn ban. Now, we're not, like I said, we're not in the drought officially, and yet DeWitt County put up their burn ban, and so does Calhoun County. So just consider that open burning right about now is not exactly encouraged. In fact, is being discouraged. Let's take a look at the Atlantic. Well, Aaron is long gone. This is Fernand. That's the way they spelt it. But that is moving out into the Atlantic, not a problem. September the 10th is the peak of the tropical storm season by number. With a little luck, you know, maybe we'll make it through the season without having anything, but don't want to, let me see if I can find some wood. I'm knocking on wood over here. Anyway, looking for 1 or 2 afternoon showers with a 91, and then tomorrow 92 in Cuero with 1 or 2 afternoon showers. With a little luck, we'll have that for 2 days. Then we'll get back to hot and steamy as we get into the coming weekend. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that, put Crossroads a day on your phone. And here is Shauna.
All right, it's almost September, which also means it's the start of football season. So let's head over to Max Williams with our sports.
Shauna, I kept been saying the past couple days, like, hey, it's football season. It's every time going. Well, it's finally that time. We're going to look here about our game of the week that's going to happen. I'm going to announce who that is for week 1 coming up next in sports. It is that time, Crossroads. We officially arrived at week 1 of the high school football season. I can't wait for those Friday night lights and letting you all know to go back and check our Crossroads Football Live preview show out there on YouTube to get ready for the football season. If you want to just check it out, just go to our YouTube page, Crossroads Day, and then look it up. It'll be Crossroads Football Live preview show to learn everything going into this season. But during our preview show, I hinted about revealing our game of the week, which I'm going to announce today. And without further ado, our game 1 week of the game, it's going to be Lavaca River rivalry between the Industrial Cobras and the Edna Cowboys. It'll be out there in Edna, and the kickoff will be at 7 p.m. This game's going to feature some new quarterbacks in charge with Edna's Trevor Floyd. Industrial has a quarterback battle going on right now between Zach Villarreal and Cooper Francis, but also some new feature as well, 2 new head coaches for this rivalry. We mentioned out in the preview show with Edna's Jamie Dixon. Industrial's got a new head coach as well, and Matt Ludicki. So the key for this game, though, even though you got big quarterbacks, star players, new head coaches, I think it's going to be between the offense and defensive lines, including for Edna under their cap and defensive end, Hunter Baring, which takes us to tonight's viewer poll where I asked everyone, who do you think will be our game of the week here, known in the Lavaca River rivalry? And trying to check it out, do not see it up there. But last there I checked, when I looked at it there, we had a lot of people up there with Edna choosing 60% of the vote there. 40% there was there for Industrial. So we'll see if we can get this up there later on for tonight for our 25 News Now Sportscast there at 10 p.m. Over to another top game we're watching in week 1 with the Yoakum Bulldogs hosting another new head coach in our area in the Calhoun Sandcrabs. They got a new head coach, Eden Steven Hernser, and today we're going to look at the Yoakum Bulldogs specifically. They're looking for a new quarterback in charge after losing senior quarterback in Trey Cuero. Now, whoever that new quarterback is, they're going to have a top threat to look out for in SMU commit Xavier Barnett, which we take a look here at the our stat spotlight here for Xavier Barnett. Look at this right here. Last season for the team, he had 31 receptions, 614 total receiving yards, and then he had 5 touchdowns and had 76.8 yards per game. And again, Xavier Barnett looks to be that guy for this season. And later, we're not going to hear from him and a couple of the players, but for now, we're going to hear a word from Yoakum head coach Bo Robinson about what are some of the expectations he has for this year.
Well, we feel good about this bunch. You know, we've got a lot of kids returning, and a lot of these guys have grown up. You know, they've grown up the last few years. A lot of them played on a team that wasn't very good 3 years ago, and you know, last year they played in some big games, and we play in a tough district. You know, obviously Columbus, Hitchcock, Hallettsville, they're tough every year, and like us. But I just want them, you know, just be. Last year at times we were probably nervous going into games. I just want them to be ready to play. I mean, they know what they can do. They've done it before, so let's just go perform, execute.
I heard there from Coach Bo Robinson. He hopes that kind of energy. And they also got some top threats. I mentioned Xavier Barnett, but keep an eye on Kenan Dilworth and Christian Hopkins. And they look to bring that execution of the season versus Calhoun at home. And it'll start there at 7 p.m. And later on, we'll hear from some of the star athletes for the Yoakum Bulldogs going into this season. Just want to remind everyone, we start our CFL podcast tonight. It's going to air again every Monday night following, again, getting into last week's action. For tonight, we're going to talk about all the preview action going into all the games we're going to look at. So we're going to talk about that. You're going to hear a couple players on the show as we go through the weeks on, so I can't wait to start the first episode tonight, and it'll air on later on our Facebook page. And that's going to do it here in sports. Don, Shauna, back to you.
Thank you, Max, and we're back in a moment. A SpaceX cargo ship made a big delivery in outer space this morning. Tonight, a SpaceX cargo ship docked with the International Space Station this morning. The Dragon capsule arrived at the station about 25 minutes earlier than scheduled, delivering 5,000 pounds of supplies and scientific experiments. The capsule successfully docked at the forward port of the International Space Station's Harmony module. This is SpaceX's 33rd resupply mission for NASA. While connected to the ISS, the Dragon capsule will also perform a series of engine burns to help maintain the lab's altitude. Might as well, if you're up there, do some burns, Deliver 50,000. That's crazy.
The science experiments sound fun.
Oh, yes, absolutely. They didn't go into detail on the experiments.
And don't forget the Dr. Pepper, okay?
Oh,
they needed to come up from
from Waco, yes.
They need
absolutely.
deliveries,
yes.
Folks, with a little luck, we'll get a few isolated showers for the next 2 days. That'd be Tuesday, Wednesday. But after that, we continue with the hot seasonal weather. Now, it's almost the end of August, so I'm optimistic that football season is starting, and that means that we'll be in the stands having chocolate, watching football real soon.
Hope so.
That sounds good. All right, thanks for joining us.
We'll see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 10.